Hello well-wishers and welcome to my channel Aspiring Minds. In today's video, we are going to discuss yet another war poetry called The Man He Killed, and this time with a difference. Why? Because this is by another poet called Thomas Hardy. So grab your virtual seats and let's begin. We all know that Thomas Hardy was actually an English novelist, but he was also a poet of the Victorian era. He is though popularly known for his novels like Jude the Obscure, Tess of D'Urberville. However, his contribution to English poetry cannot be ignored as well. The Man He Killed was written during the late 19th century. It was a period which was marked by a lot of changes that were happening at a political level and also in the society at large. The poem that we will be doing today, it reflects on Hardy's views on war. He thinks that there is utter senseless nonsense and violence involved in fighting a real battle, right? The late 1800s, moreover, the time when he was writing the poem, also witnessed a lot of conflicts. There were small wars which were being fought here and there, such as the Boer War, and after that all these small wars led eventually to the fighting of the World War I, and this poem captures the tragedy of war. There are multiple videos on war poetry available on my channel, and I've also made a general video which tells you about what exactly is war poetry. I'll provide the link to it in the description box below, and I'll also try to link it in the I button on the top right side of your screen, okay? So that you can get a better idea about war poetry. You'll understand the sentiment of the poet when he writes a poem like this. So the central message of the poem is, it talks about the futility and the senselessness of war. Hardy questions the arbitrary nature of killing in a war context and highlights the irony that under different circumstances, the two soldiers who've killed each other could have perhaps been friends, you never know. And that is exactly what is also said by Wilfred Owen in his poem called The Strange Meeting. That video is also live on my channel. You can go and have a look at it, okay? And the poem that we are doing today, it explores this, dehumanizing treatment that is given to soldiers, and how just for the sake of defending their country and taking revenge, they have to go and participate and take revenge in the war. Let us now decode the line-by-line meaning of the poem. Stanza 1. Had he and I but met by some old ancient inn, we should have sat us down to wet right many a nipperkin. So in the very first stanza, the speaker thinks about a different scenario, a different situation, a different context, where he and the man he has killed could have met in a friendly setting, and he gives example of an old inn. The speaker then imagines that the atmosphere would be great, the ambience would be excellent, and it is here that they would have actually gone to the extent of sharing drinks and enjoyed each other's company. The word nipperkin means a small drink. So that is what he's imagining, that if this war situation wouldn't have been there, perhaps the soldier he killed would have been his great friend. But ranged as infantry and staring face to face, I shot at him as he at me and killed him in his place. So here you see the tone now shifts dramatically in this stanza as the speaker describes the sad and the dark reality of war. Both the soldiers find themselves in opposing infantry lines. That is, infantry over here means the army that you belong to, okay? And they have been forced to confront each other directly. It is at this time the speaker admits that he had to shoot the other man, and it killed him in the heat of the battle. So you see how unfortunate it is. It is not even that he's done any kind of crime. Just because the other soldier that he killed belonged to the opposite or the enemy side, he had to be killed for no fault of his own. And this is exactly what I'm saying, how innocent lives are affected and killed in war. Stanza 3. I shot him dead because he was my foe. Just so, my foe. Of course he was. That's clear enough, although. So you see here in the third stanza, the speaker gives a justification for killing the soldier. He's saying that the man was his enemy. The repetition of because emphasizes the simple way in which he's trying to give a reason for killing the soldier. He acknowledges that the man was indeed his foe. The word foe here means enemy, which gives clarity. It seems as if just because someone is your enemy, it is reason enough to kill that person, even though the reason for their enmity was never explored. It's as if you randomly see a person, you don't like that person, and you kill him. That is exactly what he's saying happens in war. There's no sense in the situation. You are just given weapons and you have to create havoc. You just have to find the enemy and kill the enemy, and that's exactly what is being described aptly by Hardy here. Stanza 4. He thought he'd list perhaps offhand like, just as I was out of work, had sold his traps, no other reason why. So here the speaker thinks deeper on the reasons the other man enlisted himself at all in the military. The use of list refers to enlisting in the army. Even in India, you have the NDA exams and all, where you have to appear for the exams. If you pass, then you go for training sessions and then you become gradually a part of the Indian army. So the same thing had happened with the soldier. His only fault, perhaps, what the speaker is saying was that he enrolled and got himself listed as a soldier in the army. The speaker imagines that, like himself, the other man may have joined the military impulsively. You know why impulsively? Because at that time, war was thought to be something great, and if you were a soldier who was if you were a soldier and you were part of the army, it was thought that it brought a lot of respect, glory and fame. See, somehow to some extent it is there even today that you tend to give a lot of importance to the military generals and officials, but they need to also be told about the stark reality, the dark side of it, that once you join the army there is no looking back. And one major sad reality of India is that people join the army because of unemployment. Because once you become a part of the army, you get a lot of facilities. The family can get security and safety. There's the basic necessities which are taken care of by the army, and that is why people enroll for it. Okay, so technically this is the sad reality of being a soldier, and that is what he is highlighting over here. Stanza 5. Yes, quaint and curious war is. You shoot a fellow down, you treat if met where any bar is, or help to half a crown. So in the final stanza, the speaker reflects on the absurdity of war, that there's no meaning to it. He finds it quaint and curious that in war, one is compelled to kill a fellow human being who, under different circumstances, where any bar is, that is, when these two people were in a different circumstance, they would have treated each other with kindness, or even assisted each other by helped each other by giving a small amount of money. Half a crown means giving a small amount of money. That is how contexts have an influence on your meeting. So he's saying that if the situation would have been different, I would have been kind to this person, helped him with money, but instead I met this soldier during war and I had no other option. My hands were tied and I had to kill him because he belonged to the enemy's side. Let us quickly discuss the major themes of the poem. First is, it delves with the theme of war and violence, how war is something which is extremely brutal and it only leads to tragic endings, tragic consequences. Secondly, the poem explores the irony of killing someone who, if the person would have met in a different circumstance could have perhaps been a friend. So it also highlights the paradox of war and human relationships, that human beings tend to lose their humanity when they go to war, because that time the enemy is no longer even a human being but just an enemy who has to be killed, and violence has to be done on the battlefield. So therefore that brings me to how Hardy conveys through this poem futility of war, emphasizing that the reasons for enmity on the battlefield are often trivial. They are very, very petty. They can be handled in a different manner, but people tend to take the path of violence, and that is where the problem happens and innocent lives are killed. So that's it from this video. I hope you liked it. Do hit the like button. Subscribe to my channel for more such future updates. Thank you for watching. Bye.